It's Jen from Moonrose Fiber Studio. Today we're crocheting part 4 of the Mini Muks pattern. Mini Muks are ankle-high, boot-shaped slipper socks. If you're just finding this pattern, parts 1 through 3 are linked in the description below. We are pulling out all of our materials today, including the fabric that we're going to be sewing onto the bottom of the soles of our socks. The material I'm using is a recycled plastic fabric that I found at my local Joann's. You can also use a sheet of suede or faux suede like this one. If you're using a thicker or a tougher material like a leather, you may very well need a leather punch. It can just be unnecessarily hard on your fingers to try to get through that material with a regular sewing needle. So let's look at the rest of our materials. Among them, I have this white pencil. This is for marking on that dark fabric. If you don't have a white pencil, you could use a piece of chalk. This is a nice sturdy large eye needle that'll help me get through my material. I've also got these fabric clips, which I find super useful. If you don't have fabric clips, you could use a straight pin or even just look around the house, something like a bag clip, paper clips, something that's going to help hold your material in place as you sew it on to your mini muks. When it comes to the thread for sewing, I'm using a 1mm cotton cord. You just want to make sure you choose a thread that is nice and strong. You can also just use a regular heavy-duty sewing thread, and you can double that over twice so that you have 4 strands of thread, and you're going to have plenty of strength there for sewing on these soles. And that is exactly what we're going to be doing today in part 4. We're going to be adding all of these rows and the bottom of our mini muks. We'll also be creating this guideline for sewing on our fabric to the bottom of our mini muks. So here's how our project looks at the end of part 3. If you're like me, you may not have all of your loose ends woven in yet. I'm going to take care of that in a few minutes. You can also see that I've left on my stitch markers, which I think are helpful guides as we get started with part 4. At the beginning of part 4, we're going to be joining on with our complementary color. In my case, it's this pretty orange. If you lay your piece out flat with the right side facing, we're going to be joining to this corner of the granny square that covers the top of your foot. So it's this corner right here. And we're going to begin our soles by working around this granny square. So going directly into that corner stitch, we're going to join with a single crochet. To join with a single crochet, insert your hook. I'm going to take a second and get this stitch marker out of my way. Then you yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through 2. So here's our first single crochet of the round. If you like, you can mark that with your stitch marker. Now we're going to continue by working our way around the granny square. You're going to place 1 single crochet in each stitch around. There will be a total of 23 stitches just working around the granny square, and that does include your first standing single crochet. Here's a look at round 1 so far, but let's keep right on going. Now we're going to be working across this square. There are a total of 12 stitches across. Round 1 continues by working this repeating pattern. You'll work a single crochet and then a single crochet decrease, and you'll do this 3 times. So here's our second one. The second single crochet decrease, single crochet, single crochet decrease. And now there are 3 stitches left. Into each of these 3 stitches, we're going to work a half double crochet. This will give us a total of 9 stitches working across this square, and it brings us to the heel. Working across the heel, we're actually going to work into the 3 corner stitches from the granny square. The stitch marker is marking the center point, but we're going to work into the stitch before it, the center point, and the stitch after it. So all 3 corner stitches of the granny square. And into each of these 3 stitches, we're going to work 2 double crochets. So here's our first one. We work 1 double crochet and then go back into that same stitch and work another double crochet, 2 double crochets into the corner stitch, the one in the very center, and then 2 more double crochets in the last stitch of that corner. So this is what the heel looks like. We're sort of expanding that area to make room for our heel to fit into our mini muck. And now we need to work across this last square. And we're just going to do the same thing, but in reverse order. So you're going to work a half double crochet in each of the next 3 stitches. And then you repeat this pattern. You'll work a single crochet decrease, and then a single crochet 3 times. That was the first. Here's our next decrease, and then a single crochet, and then our third single crochet decrease. And our very last single crochet. This brings us back to our first stitch, our standing single crochet, and you'll work a slip stitch to that first single crochet. This entire round has a total of 47 stitches. The stitch count is so important, but you've done the hardest row now, and from this point on, it's going to be much easier. You can see that we're bringing in the fabric going along the squares. That's the more narrow part of your foot. It gets a little wider through the heel and the toe. So let's keep on going. We're going to keep using the same color. Chain 1, and then we're going to half double crochet in the same stitch. This is our first half double crochet of the round. It is helpful to mark the first stitch. Now you're going to half double crochet in the next 2 stitches, 1 in each stitch, and then we start our next repeating pattern. You'll work 2 half double crochets in the next stitch, half double crochet in the next stitch after that. You'll repeat this pattern 9 times. This is going to be working around the toe of the muckluck, and this is going to add some width to this part of the slipper sock. Okay, we're just finishing our 9th repeat, and then we're going to work a half double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So that's a total of 32 stitches just working around the granny square, and you can see how this is making the fabric wider to accommodate the widest part of your foot. So we're going to continue with round 2. We're working across these 9 stitches, and you're just going to work 1 half double crochet in each of these next 9 stitches. Now we're working across the heel stitches once again. You're going to double crochet in each of the next 6 stitches. We're using double crochets to add some length to the back of our slipper sock. And now we're working across the second square, and it's just half double crochets in each of the 9 stitches across the second square. And then you'll join to the first half double crochet with a slip stitch. So you're going to skip that chain 1 and just work a slip stitch into the first half double crochet of the round. Round 2 has a total of 56 stitches. If you're reading the instructions, I'm sure you noticed that I haven't changed my colors yet. I just want to take a quick look at our work so you can see we're bringing that heel down and making it wider. We're bringing it in a little bit at the more narrow sides of our feet and then adding some width at the toe. So everything is coming along nicely. But we do need to address this color change. So pick up your granny square color. Because I've already done one of my mini mucks, I'm kind of matching the yarn a little bit. I'm going to pull out the slip stitch I just made. I'm sorry if that was a little misleading. And now I'm going to slip stitch to that first half double crochet. And in doing so, I'm going to change my yarn colors. I'm just going to yarn over with the granny square color and pull it through all of the loops on my hook, completing that slip stitch. Don't cut the other yarn because we're going to be reintroducing that color. Go ahead and chain 1, half double crochet in that same stitch, and you can mark this as the first half double crochet of round 3. And all there is to do in round 3, you'll be happy to know, is to work a half double crochet in each stitch around. When you complete round 3, you're going to join with a slip stitch to the first half double crochet, changing back to your complementary color. So I'm going to change back to orange. I'm inserting my hook into that first half double crochet, dropping the granny square color, and then working my yarn over with the orange, completing that slip stitch, then chaining 1. For round 4, I'm going to half double crochet into that same stitch and mark that as the first half double crochet of round 4. And for round 4, we're doing the exact same thing. We're simply going to work a half double crochet in each stitch around. You'll notice that I'm just trimming off the granny square color. You won't be needing that color anymore for the soles of your mini mucks. Okay, now I'm going to get back to work, and I'll just be working 1 half double crochet in each stitch around. I'm going to keep us cruising right along. Here we are at the end of round 4. You're going to slip stitch to the first half double crochet, but this time we're going to slip stitch just to the back loop. So instead of going through both loops, we're going to slip stitch to the back loop only of the first half double crochet, chain 1, and then half double crochet into that same stitch, marking this as the first half double crochet of round 5. For round 5, we're going to be working in the back loops only, and we're just going to work 1 half double crochet in each stitch around. It's really important that you keep your stitch count. We need an even number of stitches. There should be 56 stitches in each of these rounds. By working in the back loops only for round 5, that leaves those front loops unworked, and those are going to be our guide as we sew on the fabric on the bottom of our mini mugs. Here we are coming to the end of round 5. We're going to join with a slip stitch to our first half double crochet. If we have a quick look at our project at the end of round 5, you can see that by working in the back loops only, it's encouraging the fabric to start to turn inward. This will lead us perfectly into round 6. We begin round 6 by chaining 2, and then we'll work a double crochet in that same stitch. Mark this first double crochet, and then we're going to double crochet in each of the next 11 stitches. I'm just going to speed things up whenever I can, just to keep us moving right along through this tutorial. After you've worked those double crochets in the next 11 stitches, if you go back and count, there'll be a total of 12 stitches, including our first double crochet. And now it's time to work 6 double crochet decreases. To work a double crochet decrease, yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, then yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over and pull through all the loops on your hook. So you can see that these decreases are starting to bring in the opening at the toe of our mini muck. To continue on with round 6, you're going to work a double crochet in each of the next 16 stitches. This will bring us to the heel, and we're going to work 6 more double crochet decreases around the heel. To complete this round, work a double crochet in each of the 4 remaining stitches. Here's our last double crochet, and now we're going to join with a slip stitch to the first double crochet. Round 6 has a total of 44 stitches. If we have a quick peek, you can really see that we're closing the opening at the bottom of the foot. We've got one more round to go. For round 7, chain 2 and then double crochet in that same stitch. Mark this double crochet as the first stitch of the round. And now, just like last time, you're going to double crochet in each of the next 11 stitches. Now we've reached our 6 double crochet decreases from the previous round, and we're going to double crochet these 6 stitches together. You'll yarn over, insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, 6 times. So you can see I'm just repeating this for each of the next 6 stitches. And then I'll complete this by working a final yarn over and pull through all of the loops on your hook. So we've turned those 6 double crochet decreases into just one big decrease. Now you're going to single crochet in each of the next 16 stitches. Now we're going to do that double crochet 6 together one more time. This will help to close up the heel. And then we'll finish off round 7 by working a double crochet in each of the last 4 stitches. Round 7 will have a total of 34 stitches in all. We're going to finish off our yarn at this point, but leave a 12-inch tail because we're going to use that for sewing. Okay, you can see I just worked that final slip stitch to the first double crochet. I'm going to measure off 12 inches. You can eyeball this. Just make sure you have enough room to finish off your project around 12 inches on this ending tail. Because as you can see, we still have this opening at the bottom of our slipper sock, and we're going to use this ending tail to whip stitch this opening together. We're going to start off by turning our mini muck inside out and bring that ending tail through the opening. When I'm sewing this opening together, I kind of prefer to use a needle that's a little more blunt so I don't accidentally go through the plies of the yarn, but anything that you have should be just fine. Now you'll notice we're not on the end of the opening. We're 4 stitches away from the end, so we need to work this ending tail to one end of the opening. So I'm going to go ahead and thread the yarn onto my needle, and then I'm just going to pass the needle back and forth through these 4 stitches, bringing the yarn to the end of the opening, right at the heel. I'm just going to gently pull the tail through without cinching the work at all. And then I turned my work around just because it's more comfortable for me to work from right to left. And working one to one, I'm just going to whip stitch these 2 sides together. And I'm taking my time with it just to make sure that I don't get off in my stitch placement. I'm gently pulling the opening closed as I work my way across, but I'm not pulling the work too tight. You want the fabric to feel nice and smooth under your feet. And I think it's nice to weave in this final tail through the top decrease from the previous round. Okay, you did it. Now you can turn your mini muck back to the right side facing out. You can even try it on if you want to. Remember, you need to repeat this for your other foot because you need 2 socks for your feet. I like how nicely the sizes are matching up. And now it's time to cut out some fabric and sew it on to the bottom of our soles. To create a pattern or a template, I'm just placing my foot on a sheet of white printer paper, marking the length and the width. And now I'm using a tool with a right angle to turn this into a nice rectangle. Next, I used a small cup to round these corners before cutting out my shape. Now, I had a feeling like mine was a little long, and holding it up to the mini muck definitely confirmed that for me, so I shaved a bit off the length and even rounded the corners a little bit more. Once you're happy with your shape, you'll be using this to trace it out onto your fabric and then cut that fabric out for the bottom of your mini mucks. My fabric has a right side and a wrong side, so I'm tracing my shape out on the wrong side of my fabric. Remember, you're going to need to do this 2 times. I'm just checking to make sure my pencil's showing up, and then I'm going to trace this out. Once I have my shape drawn onto the fabric, I can cut that out, and then I can repeat the process for the second foot. Okay, here we go. We have both of our shapes. I've got my fabric clips ready. I'm actually going to be sewing this one onto the bottom of my muckluck where I've already made the cuff. I filmed this one and the footage was kind of dark, so I'm just going to go ahead and sew the sole onto my other mini muck because I need to do that anyway, and hopefully get the lighting a little bit better for you. So I'm just laying this out onto the bottom of the mini muck, trying to get it lined up with those curves as much as possible. Remember, we have the unworked front loops creating a guidelines. We're actually going to be lining up the fabric to that seam of sorts and clipping it onto the bottom of our mini mucks. I like to do the toe and heel and then do one on each side and then kind of fill in the clips in between. I'll place a few extra clips working around the curves, and this will just hold the fabric in place for me as I'm sewing it onto the mini muck. Once our fabric is secure, we can go ahead and head into the final step, which is sewing it onto the bottom of our mini mucks. So I've got my thread here. You need about double of what it takes to work around. That should be more than enough to get around your mini mucks. We're just going to be working whip stitches around the bottom of these soles. I have a tendency to cut off a little more than I need. I think I'm just always afraid I'm going to run out, but then it can be sort of bothersome to have that excess thread on your needle. So really, if it'll work its way around the bottom of your mini muck twice, you should have plenty of thread. You can begin sewing anywhere. I'm just beginning along the side of the mini muck, and I'm going just underneath my material first. And that's so that when I tie it off at the end, the knot will be underneath the fabric. So I'm just working my needle underneath, mine's recycled plastic, but underneath whatever fabric you have there. And I'm not even going to tie a knot yet. I'm going to worry about that once I get all the way around. And now to sew, I'm working my needle under the front loop that we left unworked, and then underneath the fabric about 1/4 of an inch in. And I'm just going to be doing this as I work my way around. When I'm on the straight edges, like the side of the foot where I am now, I'm just working 1 stitch per unworked front loop on the crocheted side. So I'm going through that front loop and through the fabric and just pulling it through. This will make such a nice clean edge, and your mini mucks will last that much longer because you've reinforced the bottom of them, and it will also make them safer to wear because they won't be as slippery on something like a tiled floor. When you reach the curved edges, there is more of a risk of the fabric kind of buckling as you go around the curve. So I like to place 2 stitches as I'm going around these curves. I'll go underneath the front loop of the crocheted side and through the fabric just like I've been doing. And then I'll go back through that same stitch on the crochet, but a little bit further along on the fabric side. So for each crocheted stitch, I'm coming out 2 different places on the fabric, and I'm just doing that to help work around those curves so that the fabric doesn't have a tendency to pucker. So that's all there is to it in this step of the process. We're just going to be whip stitching our fabric onto the bottom of our mini mucks, 2 stitches around the curves, 1 to 1 on the straight edges, and I'll meet you back at the beginning. Once you've made your way all the way around, I like to work the needle back through the fabric one last time without going through the crocheted material, and then I tie the 2 ends of the thread together, and that knot will just rest right beneath the fabric. Of course, you'll repeat this process for your other mini muck. But that does bring us to the end of part 4. Now you should have 2 slipper socks with fabric covering the soles, and next week we're going to finish off by doing the top cuff. I hope you're enjoying the project. Remember, I'm going to link to all of the other parts in the description below. Please hit like and subscribe and click the notification bell so you don't miss the final part. Before you know it, you'll be walking away in your new mini mucks. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.